That is a dress, shipped to your door from a factory on the other side of the world. Read the price again. For years, a parcel like that crossed the border into Europe and paid nothing. No customs duty, not a cent. 12 million of them did it. Every single day. This is the story of the rule that let them in. And what happened on the 1st of July this year, when Europe finally shut it. Because this did not creep up on anybody. In 2022, 1.4 billion of these parcels came into the European Union. The next year, 2.3 billion. The year after that, 4.6 billion, doubling. Every year, 91% of them from one country. If you like watching a rule get taken apart, until you can see who wrote it, subscribe. That is the whole channel. But the strangest part of this story is not that Europe closed the door. It is what happened when one country decided Europe was not closing it fast enough. That country was France. And the people who stopped them were not in Beijing. The rule was simple enough to fit in a sentence. Any parcel coming into the European Union worth less than 150 euros did not pay customs duty. It still paid value-added tax. It still needed a customs declaration. But the duty, the tariff, the thing that makes an imported good cost more than a domestic one, that was waived. It was enacted in 1983. 1983, before the web, before the phone in your hand, before it was possible for an ordinary person to order an ordinary object from a factory on the other side of the planet. It was raised in 91, raised again in 2008 to the 150 euros it sat at until this July. And the law had a name for the parcels it covered. It called them goods of, and this is the legal phrase still sitting in the regulation, negligible value. Negligible. Not worth the paperwork it would take to tax them. Here is the thing about a rule like that. It was written for a world where a parcel from outside Europe was an occasional thing. A gift, a souvenir, something your aunt sent. It was not written for 12 million a day. And the other half of that curve is us. In 2014, 59% of people online in Europe bought something online. By 2024, it was 77%. Among people in their late 20s and early 30s, it is closer to 9 in 10. So the door stayed the same size while the number of people walking through it kept climbing. And once enough sellers noticed, once the shipping got cheap enough and the factories got close enough to the customer, the rule stopped being a small allowance for gifts. It became the delivery route. 93% of everything arriving into the European Union by e-commerce was small enough to use it. Not a loophole somebody found. A door somebody built and then left open while the traffic through it doubled and doubled and doubled again. And Europe knew. By 2016, a study commissioned for Brussels estimated that around 65% of e-commerce consignments were undervalued, declared as being worth less than they actually were. In fact, in 2021, Europe closed half of this door. The exemption from value-added tax on parcels under 22 euros was scrapped. In the first 6 months alone, member states collected 1.9 billion euros they had not been collecting before. They closed the tax half. And they left the duty half standing open for another 5 years. When the Commission finally proposed shutting it, here is how it described what had been going on. Keeping the exemption had, their words, left the door open for the systematic abuse of that threshold through undervaluing and splitting of consignments. Their words. The door was open, they wrote it down. So on the 12th of December last year, Europe's finance ministers agreed to close it. The final approval came on the 11th of February. And on the 1st of July this year, 7 weeks ago, as I record this, it took effect. 3 euros. That is the new duty on a low-value parcel. And if that sounds small to you, you have understood it correctly, but you have probably not understood how it is counted. Because it is not 3 euros per parcel. It is 3 euros per type of item. 10 identical pairs of socks in one box, 3 euros. 5 pairs in wool and 5 in cotton, same box, same order. Those are 2 different entries in the tariff schedule, so that is 6. Which means the charge does not scale with what you spent. It scales with how varied your order was. The person who buys 10 of the same thing barely notices. The person who fills a basket with 12 different cheap things pays 12 times. And filling a basket with 12 different cheap things is the entire business model. Europe gave 4 reasons for doing this, and they are worth reading in order, because only one of them is about money. The first is competition. A seller inside Europe pays the duty, and a seller outside it was not. The second is safety, because nobody can meaningfully inspect 4.6 billion of anything. The third is fraud, which is the polite word for parcels that arrive declared as something they are not. And the fourth is the environment, not the clothes, the splitting. 12 million individual parcels flown and driven and handed over one at a time, where a container would once have carried the same goods in a single movement. That fourth reason is the one nobody argues about. It is also the one that €3 does almost nothing to fix. Now, while Brussels was writing that, France had already lost patience. French customs pulled 320,000 parcels from one platform at Charles de Gaulle and opened them. A quarter of what they found did not comply with European law, so the French government went to court and asked for the platform to be switched off in France for 3 months. And the court said no. In December, the Paris Judicial Court refused. In March, the Court of Appeal agreed with them. Their reasoning was that a total shutdown was, and this is the word they used, disproportionate. The company had pulled the listings, it had tightened its own controls. That was enough. So France tried the other way. It passed a law of its own, aimed squarely at ultra-fast fashion. Penalties charged per item, starting between 25 cents and €6 this year, climbing to as much as €10 by 2030. Plus a ban on advertising, right down to paying influencers. It is the toughest thing any European country has tried on this. And it is not in force, because the European Commission looked at it and said it breaks European law, not Chinese law. European law. Here is why, and it is the part that makes the whole story make sense. The European single market has one rule underneath all the others. Goods move inside it without internal borders. That is not a detail. That is the product. It is the reason a company anywhere in Europe can sell to 450 million people without 27 sets of paperwork. But a market with no internal borders can only have one set of external rules. If France can set its own penalties on imported clothing, and Germany can set different ones, and Italy a third, then there is no single market. There are 27 of them wearing a shared flag. So the same machinery that makes Europe worth selling into is the machinery that stops any one country defending itself on its own terms. France did not lose to Shane. France lost to the thing France helped build. And that is the trade every member state made decades ago, mostly without arguing about it. You get the market, and you give up the ability to act alone inside it. Nobody minds that trade when the traffic is a few million parcels a year. So where does that leave the parcel? €3 per item type since the 1st of July. And that number is temporary, deliberately. It is a placeholder sitting there until roughly the middle of 2028, when Europe's new customs data system is supposed to be running, and every one of those parcels gets charged a real tariff for what is actually inside it. Which means the thing that happened 7 weeks ago was not the end of anything. It was the cheap, fast, temporary version, the one Europe could agree on quickly while it builds the one it actually wants. And there is a second one coming, about 10 weeks from now. From the 1st of November, a handling fee lands on top of the duty, roughly €2 to cover what it costs to process the parcel at the border. Notice what is different about it. The €3 is charged per type of item. This one is charged per parcel. So the order that shrugged off the first charge by containing 10 of the same thing pays the second one anyway. The door is not shut. It has a price on it now, and the people who set that price are still arguing about what it should be.